I agree that actually dialogue is going to be helpful in this case. What I'd like to see, I guess, is the urgency is there. People are waking up to that. It's whether we can bring America back into this. Donald Trump is erratic. He managed to start the talks about peace, and we did see a ceasefire and that start to move. Whether we can engage him back in, I haven't heard the Prime Minister or the Foreign Secretary talk about whether that's an option to get that leverage in. I think it's important that we have called the ambassador in, but at the end of the day, two wrongs don't make a right. The terrorists Hamas need to release their hostages, and Israel need to stop moving into the West Bank and let that aid in. I think those two things are not mutually exclusive and could solve the problem quite quickly on doing that, but clearly people are entrenched.
Well, rumour is Donald Trump has got frustrated by Netanyahu as well. I mean, having seen him as a major ally, apparently he's become quite irritated with him, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
I think you're spot on. I think the fact that in this case, Donald Trump being slightly erratic might be of use, because if he says he's going to do something about Israel or Hamas, actually people might believe him. Whether that's the case, I'm not privy to that information, but I think that is an avenue that we as the Brits could be saying, look, what is going on here? What conversations are America having with Israel to open these borders to let more aid in? But I think the point is Hamas is a terrorist state. That is number one. That makes it very difficult.
It's an organisation.
Sorry, terrorist organisation within that state. I guess I'm going to answer the question of what has changed, and I think it was, why have we seen a change now? I think when the foreign minister starts talking about needing to move the population out, there's a difference between having a response to deal with terrorists to changing the nature of what that function is you're trying to do and take over the area. If we were to use the same example in the likes of Afghanistan and Iraq, the reason we went out there was to deal with terrorism, was not to occupy those areas. The same was the argument we use with Russia. We don't like what Russia are doing in Ukraine because they're trying to take sovereign territory. I'm worried that this sounds like there could be a move on that basis. The difficulty is when you're dealing with a terrorist organisation who isn't playing fair, it is very hard for Israel to get it right. But I worry about that doesn't excuse them to not be able to allow the aid in and that support to try and give as much support in a hellishly difficult situation.
Again, just to play devil's advocate, they say they're not allowing the aid in because most of it's going to Hamas. It's not going to where it's needed, and that there is some evidence for that. But then again, they don't let journalists in, Rachel, to prove that.